In this video, we'll add support for the user interface in VR. The Google Cardboard system limits the amount of interaction that the user can perform on their phone because their phone is literally in a box. As a result, the only way that the user can interact with the scene is via the trigger. This doesn't mean, however, that you can't use the UI. In fact, there are some systems built by the Google VR team that allow you to interact with Unity UI exactly as though you had a mouse cursor, which can actually make it easier to deal with UI stuff than without Google VR sometimes. Let's begin by creating a canvas. We won't be able to interact with it, but it'll help us ground our discussion of the UI technologies. So we'll go Game Object, UI, Canvas. Unity will add the canvas and the event system object for us. Our UI will be placed at the feet of the user. That is, the user can look down and see the UI. To make this happen, we're going to change the render mode of the canvas from screen space to world space. This has the effect of placing the canvas in the world. It's literally an object that is inside the world rather than overlaid on top of the user's view of the game. So we'll go to the render mode setting and change it from screen space to world space. We'll also drag in the main camera as the event camera. This will be necessary for interaction later on. The canvas, if you press the F key to zoom out, is quite large. Let's scale that down by changing the scale from 1 to 0.01 and 0.01, 0.01, and we'll press the F key to zoom in. We'll change the position X and Y to 0, and we'll also change the width and the height by just reducing that. We'll change that to about 200 wide and about 100 high. Let's now position our canvas so that it's at the same position as the camera. And finally, we'll go to the rotation tool and rotate it, turning off ISO mode, going back to perspective, and we'll rotate it so that it's lying flat. I'm also going to move it further down so that it's roughly on the floor and a little further ahead. We'll now add a button. Go to the Game Object menu, choose UI, button. A button will appear in the canvas. When we play the game, we can look around and see our button, but we can't do anything with it. In fact, if we use the trigger, all we're doing is throwing balls through the button. What we want is for Unity to detect that when we are looking at a button, using the trigger means something different. To support this, we use an input module. Input modules are how the Unity UI system handles user input events. The Google VR SDK contains such an input module designed for user interaction in VR. Go to the event system and click Add Component. We're going to add a gaze input module. Make sure that this is at the top of the list by opening the gear menu and clicking Move Up. This will make the gaze input module take precedence over the standalone input module. Now, when we look around, when our reticle goes over the button, the reticle changes size and shape. Additionally, when we click on the trigger, the button is being tapped. We can now use the button exactly as we would any other button in any other game. With that, we now know how to use UIs in virtual reality.